Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. This is a blouse pattern that I've had for maybe 4 or 5 years, and it has a basic blouse top here, and then there's one here with shorter sleeves. It has a ruffle on the bottom here, and it shows ruffles and scalloped edges on there. Now, supposing you want to get this pattern, but you can't find it anywhere, and you really want that ruffle on your sleeve. So I'm going to show you how you can add it to any basic pattern like this. So let's get started. Most of your tops will have a basic sleeve that looks like this. This is the pattern piece for it. So if you want to add a longer ruffle to it, what you would do is you would measure from one side to the other side, and mine measures 13 inches. So after you've measured across the bottom of your sleeve, you're going to take your number, whatever it is. Yours may not be the same as mine. So mine was 13. I'm going to divide it by 2, and that comes out to 6.5 inches. I'm going to add that 6.5 inches to the 13 inches. So basically what I've done is your ruffle piece needs to be 1.5 times larger than the width of the bottom of your sleeve. Now, after I've added it, it comes out to 19.5 inches. I'm just going to round up to 20 inches. If you had a pattern that already had the ruffle on it, this is what your piece looks like. It's just a long rectangle. So remember, it just needs to be a rectangle shape. Then at the top end, you're going to need to do 2 rows of basting stitches, because later you're going to be gathering this up. So my first row is about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Then the second row is about 1/8 of an inch from that. And my stitch length was somewhere around 5.0 to 5.5. Here are some of the little ruffle trims or other types of lace trims that you could put on that sleeve. Now, all of these were made by Simplicity, and I purchased them from Walmart. Now, not all Walmart stores carry fabrics and crafts, but I'm sure you can get some of this on walmart.com. So this has a slight gather to it. This has a little band over it, a little piece of bias strip that covers the raw edge, because you could also stitch this on the top of the sleeve, on the top side, I should say. Here's another one that's wider that has a slight gathered edge. Then you have some other lace trims that you could place on the edge of the sleeve. And so you have all of these different choices. I chose this particular one, but I don't want this little band right here to show. So I stitched it from the underside. So basically what I did was I turned it front side down on top and then stitched it on. So it looks like this. So here it is. Now, I used a serger, and when I placed it in my serger machine, I set it so that it would cut that little banded edge off so that this will lay really flat. Then I pressed this piece, and I pressed the seam going up towards the strip of fabric. Then over here at this end, from about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the fabric here, I stitched this seam down. So I did just a regular straight stitch all the way across. Now, if you do have a serger, I highly recommend you use it to make your clothing. It goes so much faster. But if you don't have a serger, this is how you would do your seams. You would do a straight stitch first, and I would do probably anywhere from 1/4 of an inch up to 5/8 of an inch. It's all depending on what you want. Then you could go along and do a zigzag stitch to bind the raw edges so that they don't unravel when you put it in the washing machine. Or if you have some other overcast stitches on your sewing machine, and most computerized sewing machines have one or more of these overcast stitches. So you first would stitch your regular seam and then do your overcast stitch along the edge. I'm going to give you a little tip of how I mark my fabric after I've cut it out. If you've never made any clothing before, there's always little markings on the pattern pieces that indicate specific steps that you would need to do. There's little notches, these little triangular shapes, and then you'll often see little circles around the pattern too. So what I like to do is, instead of cutting out little notches or cutting into the little notches, which is what they recommend on your instructions in your pattern, I don't like to do that because I always worry I'm going to cut it wrong. So what I do is I fold it back. Here's a notch. I fold it back and I take a fabric marker. This is the water-soluble fabric marker, and I'll just put a little dot there that indicates it's a notch, a triangle. And then at these other little circles, if you should have them, I will just draw a little straight line, just a short one, so I know what the difference is between the two. One other thing I do when I'm cutting my fabric out, I like to use heavy weights, and I'll put them all around my pieces, because if you use straight pins, sometimes the straight pins cause the tissue paper to tear, and then you've got to tape it all back together. And these really hold everything in place very well. I bought these in the hardware store at Home Depot, and it's where they sell all the big nuts and bolts. Before you stitch your ruffle onto the sleeve, you need to gather it up. So you're going to take the top 2 threads at each end. You leave the other ones alone. Just push them out of the way underneath and begin to gather and push the fabric along. And you want to also do it from the other end. And when you're done, you want it the same width as at the bottom of your sleeve is. Try to evenly spread the gathers out. Don't have them all clumped in one spot. Then once you've got it all done, then bring it front side down against the front side of your sleeve fabric, and then just pin it down. After you have it all pinned down, then you want to stitch this ruffle on. And choose one of those methods that I showed you. Either serge the edge or do a straight stitch seam and either zigzag or overcast the raw edges. Now I did serge mine, and this is what it looks like when it's all done. Now I'm going to turn it over to this way. Now if any of your basting stitches show on your ruffle, all you need to do is just go in and pull them out. It should be pretty easy because they're a very loose stitch. Then after that, press your seam, this seam right here, up towards the sleeve. Then after you're done with that, from about 1/8 of an inch from this edge right here, you're going to stitch right on top of your sleeve fabric. Now this is what it looks like from the front side, and I'm going to turn it over. And then this is what it looks like on the back side. Now there's 2 different methods that you can use to put a sleeve in. One method is after your shoulder seams are stitched, where you bring the front and back pieces together and you stitch up at the 2 shoulder edges. Often a pattern will tell you to go ahead and stitch your side seams in and then put the sleeve in. I like to do it where I put the sleeve in first and then do the side seams. It's much easier to do. You know those little markings that I told you to make sure you put on your fabric? Well, on a sleeve, the areas where I have the little dash lines, you're going to ease this into your armhole. And easing means this. This is a lot of fabric and it won't fit exactly. So you have to do what we call ease. You gradually bring it in to where it's a slight gather, but you don't see any gathering ruffles at all. And it takes practice to do this. So what I like to do, again, is do 2 rows of basting stitches. Slightly tug, very slightly gather it up, and you will find that this will ease into that shoulder really easy. Then after you put it in, you go ahead and you bring your sleeve together along with the side seam of your garment. So over here would be the fabric that goes around your torso, the front and back fabric. You've brought those seams together and you stitch it all at once, and you can either serge it or do those other stitches that I recommended. Now, just in case you're interested in this pattern, I don't know if you can still get it because I bought it about 4 years ago. I bought it at Joann Fabrics and Crafts, and it's called New Look, and it's letter S 0179. And also, don't forget that you can use this same technique on little girls' clothing too. Remember, all it needs is just a basic sleeve, and you can create a ruffle sleeve on these also. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. Remember, if you get a basic pattern, you can not only just change your sleeve style, but you can also change the style of the neckline. You can turn it into a scoop neck, just a basic round neck, and even a boat neck. So learning how to alter patterns, it's kind of an art. Some people it's real easy to do, others it takes a while. But this is pretty cut and dry on how to do this kind of sleeve. Now, if you're interested in other tips of the week, I have many. What have I got? Over 60 now? There will be a link down below that'll take you to a playlist where you can look at all of them. You can binge watch them if you would like. And also I will have beginner sewing project links down there also. Now don't forget to follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.